Let's make cookies! Chocolate chip cookies. And I've already added the first 3 ingredients, which is 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And you put your dry ingredients in that bowl and set it aside. Next, you'll melt you're gonna need softened butter, and you'll need 2 sticks of softened butter, along with 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, which we are doing currently. And these are all your wet ingredients that are in a separate bowl. And next, you will find your brown sugar. And in the brown sugar, you always pack it down, which you'll notice here in a second. I'm not sure for the reason, but I've always packed down my brown sugar, and it's always called for that in this Nestle Toll chocolate chip cookie recipe. So I'll add some in, and then I'll pack it in, as you'll see in just a second. I know I'm not doing a purse video, but I do love to bake. So I hope you enjoyed this little baking video, because I love to bake. So now I'm about to add a little bit more. There was some weird brown thing, I threw it out. So then I'm about to pack it, because you always want to pack down the brown sugar. I always made these cookies with my mom, so I go into a place of zen in my own world of baking. I'm quiet. I just like to bake. So yeah, adding a little bit more, and then you have to pack it down to get the 3/4 cup that you need for your wet ingredients. And that should do it. And then I always use a fork, because it's easier to smush the butter and the sugar ingredients together. So you just continually stir until those have combined. And that's mostly combined right there. And the next ingredient you will need for this wet ingredient is 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I apparently put 2 teaspoons. Oh no, that's a half a teaspoon. That's why I had to put 2 to make it 1 teaspoon. So combine those ingredients. The next ingredients up is 2 large eggs. See, a fork makes everything kind of combined a little bit easier, and then eventually I'll use a spatula. Getting the clumps of butter out. So now we're going to the eggs. You need 2. Here goes 1, no shells. And here's the second large egg. And no shells. Now we'll be still using the fork, because it just makes it easier in mixing the eggs with the wet ingredients. You could use a whisk if you wanted to as well. I just use a fork, and it works perfectly. So get those combined. And those are all of your wet ingredients combined. And then I'm done with the fork at this point. And then next up, we're going to be adding our dry ingredients to the wet. I do this in about 3 parts. I do a little bit of flour each time and then combine to avoid a flour mishap, if you will. So I combine the first little round of dry and wet ingredients. And then here's the second part. I didn't like this spatula. It's not my normal baking spatula, but that's why it's taken me a little bit longer to combine the ingredients. But it works, so. These are my favorite chocolate chip cookies to make. There's the last portion of the flour ingredients. Yeah, these are my family's favorite chocolate chip cookies. And there goes the mishap that I was talking about. I tried to avoid, but I am a messy baker. This is pretty tame and clean compared to some messes I have made. But yeah, there's all the dry ingredients mixing well until all of it's combined, the wet and the dry. And we're finishing up here. And the next ingredients will be, of course, chocolate chips. Now this calls for 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate morsels. Typically I just use milk chocolate morsels. You can use semi-sweet or milk chocolate, and you'll need 2 cups of those. And then you'll stir those 2 ingredients together. And you have cookie dough. Who doesn't love cookie dough? Yes, I know there's raw eggs in there, but being the baker, you get to test the cookie dough when you're done to make sure that it tastes right. And so I'm always the taste tester, and I've never gotten sick on tasting raw cookie dough. So there's me tasting it. So now we're on to scooping it. This is the best little scooper. I think you can find these at Dollar Tree, I'm not sure, or definitely Walmart. Get you one of these scoopers. It makes life so easy scooping them onto the tray. And I think I made 3.5 trays of chocolate chip cookies. My family doesn't do nuts, but you can add nuts if you would like. They're optional, but I've never liked chocolate chip cookies with nuts, so I just leave them out. I'm getting down, we're speeding things up. This is my second tray. And stay tuned at the end here. After I get them in the oven, there will be a taste test at the end of this video to let you know how they turned out. Oh, and while we're doing this, the oven needs to be preheated to 375. And I have the double oven, so I use all 3 rows for these cookies. Still scooping out. This is my third and final little tray that I videoed anyway. But yeah, this scooper is the easiest, fastest scooper. But these chocolate chip cookies are so soft. They're all-time favorites. And they're just on the back of the Nestle Toll House chocolate chip bag. And then there you preset your oven, 375. But yeah, like I was saying, the recipe for this is on the back of Nestle Toll House chocolate chip, semi chocolate chip cookies. So, but I'll also put a link down below of the recipe. Ignore what I'm wearing. So in the oven they go for, they're going in for 9 minutes. It's typically 9 to 11 minutes, but I do not like overcooking my cookies. So typically about 9 minutes, and I pull them. You can tell by the shape and a little slight brownness to the top of the cookie. Yep, those look delicious. There's one tray. Here comes the second, and they're a little poofy like that, a little brown. You can cook them to 11 minutes, but I prefer a little bit softer of a cookie, so I tend to. And here is the results. He has to dip it, even though they're soft. Mr. AKBBags, what does he think? What does he think? Yeah. And then, of course, my daughter had to join in, and she loves it.